All right. You guys ready? All right, here we go. Welcome to DZR, episode 27 of the Dark Zone Report. I'm Dan Drax. I'm your host. Back for another episode of the Dark Zone Report. Excited about it. I got two guys with me. One, Mr. Golden Boy. What's going on, Golden?
Yo, what is up? I've been grinding all day. Glad to be here. Looking forward to it.
And then right next to him, we have the legendary Pretzel Poncho. What's going on, Pretz?
Not much. What is going on? It's good to see you, hear you guys. Been pretty busy, not been able to stay in touch lately, but I'm now checking out the DLC this weekend. It's good stuff.
I've missed you.
I missed you too.
Normally we'll edit out, like long periods of silence normally will get edited out. That one I think I may just leave in. But in any case. Yeah, man, good to have you back. And we've got a lot to talk about. This is actually the first podcast that the three of us have done since getting to actually play the DLC. So looking forward to talking about some things there. But first, we want to do some show news. So I guess the first thing is, last weekend we did the second Gear Up weekend. And I don't know. I don't know how to categorize it at this point other than just an awesome time and a huge success. I mean, we had a bunch of people roll through. Good time had by the community. Got to actually do some giveaways and things this time because Massive kind of came on board and helped us out. So it was just a lot of fun and a really good time was had by all. And as we always remind you, we did all that in our DZR Discord. And if you're not on the Discord, it's a great place to be, meet other players, and stay in touch. Some other show news that I want to lead off with right at the top here. We've been talking a lot about DZR and kind of where we can take things to give you the very best content, the most timely and useful content, and also the most entertaining. And so we got a couple of changes coming here to DZR. The first is there will be a new show launching within the month. I'm not sure when it's going to hit your feed, but from what I understand, sometime late August, they will be recording. And essentially, this is going to be the show that is for those of you out there that are listening that really are looking for some in-depth, super technical, really focused information on the division. And so we'll be doing, and actually that show is going to be called The Armory. So it'll be the DZR Armory show or The Armory or something like that. It's going to be hosted by none other than Hoagie, who has been on this show a number of times, and he's definitely a nerd's nerd when it comes to this game, and he's the perfect guy to run that show. And then we're going to be pulling some folks from the community that have kind of great insight on gear and weapons and builds and all of that. So these are going to be community members from Discord that are going to be sharing their expertise. It's going to be a weekly show, a little shorter than our normal show, so probably 20 to 30 minutes. And it will be just one of those shows that honestly you'll probably want to watch or listen to with a notebook or, that's the kind of depth that we're looking to bring you, something that can really, if you're really into the game and builds and the technical aspects of the game, this show is designed to kind of give you the content that you need. It's gotten harder and harder to kind of do that type of show on a weekly basis. And so what we thought we would do is put together a group of guys that would be really focused just on delivering that kind of content. Now, it's going to show up in the same stream that you get everything else DZR. So you'll see it. It'll be called The Armory or some variant thereof. And go ahead and give it a listen, and you will find some of the best technical insight on the division and maxing builds and things like that that you can find anywhere. In addition to that, there's going to be a couple of new shows that are going to be hitting the stream. One is going to be, when we were thinking about why you guys still listen to the show, it generally came down in our minds to one of two reasons. Well, I guess there's three. One, you listen to a lot of podcasts and have run out of other ones to listen to, which I guess is entirely possible. But in our mind, it was probably coming down to one of two things. Either you really enjoyed the interaction between some of the personalities that we've had on the show in the past, or you were looking for that kind of division-related insight that we really, have excelled at here on the podcast. And so what we decided to do was kind of split that up. One of the things that's happened is a lot of the original cast members from the show have stopped playing the game. Either they moved on to other things or they found out it just wasn't for them. And so guys like Cowboy Doug and Mr. T and Beard Bullets and Golden Graham and all those guys that you would have listened to if you've listened to us from the beginning, they weren't playing the game. And so they stopped kind of coming on the show, which we always invited them. It's kind of like, no, just come on and argue about something you don't understand. But, for whatever reason, and I guess I understand it, they didn't feel comfortable coming on and doing a podcast for a game that they weren't playing. And so it's been something I've been thinking about for a while is how do we get some of those guys back in the fold and get them back? Because I know that, we did a good show together. It was entertaining, a lot of good chemistry there. So what we are doing is we are kind of covering the technical aspects of the Division with the Armory show. And then we're going to be launching a new show, which I guess, guys, I can release the title here, right? I can say it. As of this moment, the show has been renamed a number of times, but as of this moment, it is going to be DZR Jumping Under the Influence. And that will be the name of the new show, which will be hosted primarily by Golden Graham and will feature the likes of Pretzel Poncho, Golden Boy, Danthrax, myself, Cowboy Doug, Mr. T, Beard Bullets. We will have the old band back together and doing a show that's going to be about a bunch of different things. Going to be, of course, gaming focused, but will largely be a bunch of different games that we're playing, games that we're excited about coming out. We'll do some probably other general media content. We'll do some things on liquor. We'll do some things on cooking, whatever it is that it's going to be kind of a show where we talk about a lot of different things. And really, the idea is you got a bunch of those guys, some of my favorite guys, all hanging around on the back porch, having a beer. That's what the show's going to be. So really excited about that and looking forward to it, hoping you guys will like that. That's also going to be on this same channel. So you'll get all of these new shows. And then there's one new show that is still in pre-production that is going to be exclusively focused on reviewing upcoming games. That's a project that's being worked on by a couple people, including Golden Boy and Binary. So we are excited about that. And that's going to be the show that you basically turn on when you're wondering what you might want to pick up or what the perspective on a new game coming out. That'll be the show where you can drop in and find kind of thoughts on new and upcoming games. So we're going to be covering both kind of the AAA, large scale releases, as well as indie games, all platforms. So I know, Golden, you're really looking forward to doing that show.
Yeah, and I think we actually have someone that's going to be coming in to kick off the show that we're really excited about. Arex, I think he's going to be there. I think he's pretty much confirmed. We're still working some stuff out. So Binary and I are really excited about it. Definitely looking forward to it. We'll be doing reviews on stuff that's out and that is going to be coming out. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, really exciting. And also something that, we have wanted to do kind of from the beginning, which is take the kind of formula for DZR, which is largely, great guys with great personalities that like each other and, positive vibe and looking at talking games and spending time together. So we're really excited about it. I think it's going to be a great couple of months for content here on the DZR podcast stream. So very exciting. Also, one last piece of news before we get on to the Division content. There's another kind of special project. We're not really to kind of fully take the wraps off this yet, but very soon, if you are a content creator in the audience, and whether that's writing, YouTube videos, streaming, podcasting, there's going to be we've always been a very community focused kind of setup. We've always had community members contributing to the show, contributing to the different content that we do, contributing in the community. And we are working on a way to kind of formalize that a little better, structure that a little better, and really kind of start getting serious about producing some content. So no, not going to kind of fully talk about that, but that is coming up. And so if you're a content creator and you listen to the show and you're looking for a platform that can really help take you to the next level, we are, stay tuned because we're going to be talking about some exciting news there within the next month or so. So I think that's the show news, guys. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And with that, let's get into the game. As I said, this is kind of the first, our first opportunity, the three of us, to kind of respond to actually playing the content. And I want to do it we're going to kind of do it in a little bit of a structured way. And I think what we're going to start with is the underground. So real quick level check. Let's just go around the horn. Golden, what level are you currently? What's your underground level?
Hit 20 today.
You hit 20 today. And how many hours do you think you've had in the underground?
15 to 20.
Okay, so you've definitely put in some good time in there this week. Pretzel, I know you had just kind of started to get to play it. Have you played a lot in the underground? What level do you think you're at right now?
I have played for the last couple hours today. This is the first chance I got to get my hands on it. I'm actually just finished one of the pieces right now. About, I'd say 4 hours. And we ran it a couple times, and I'm at underground rank 8 right now. We ran it under mine up to what I could do, and then the syndicate was at rank 17, so was able to once I got that feel basically to talk about it here, she was able to give us some stuff so we could run it on harder
that's
stuff.
awesome. Yeah, I've probably got I don't know, 6 hours or so, and I think I am level 11, 10 or 11. I've been dying very stupidly when soloing in the underground, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But all right, so we've all had some time to kind of get in there. I want to do a couple of things with this. One, let's just talk about what was kind of the main hook on the underground, which was this idea of kind of procedurally generated, infinitely replayable, different every time kind of experiences, how the underground was kind of described. Golden, would you say that piece of it has kind of delivered in that regard, or what's your feeling on kind of the random kind of generated piece of underground?
Well, just because you come in the back ways of one room does not mean that it's randomly generated. Yeah, I thought after I reached 20 that more rooms would open up or something like that, but no. My expectations. I played a lot of Bloodborne, and there was a Chalice Dungeons, and you would go down there, and it was pretty random. There was a lot of stuff going on, but you would run into the same rooms every once in a while, so you'd be like, oh, I've seen this room. This, on the other hand, I hate to say it, but no, not at all. We did run a lot of the same rooms. The one thing, let me think, what did we, the one where you have the rope and you got to climb down it or climb up it, that's pretty much, almost in every single one of them. It's nice, but as far as what I think they promised something like you would never go into the same room twice or something like that.
Yeah.
We all know the answer to that.
How many times have you run it? An estimation.
25 times, maybe 30.
25.
Okay. So from what I remember them saying, and right now with me going through it, stuff still, don't get me wrong, I still see some stuff that you're like, okay, that's similar or the same. I still see stuff that's different. And so I'm tried to give them a little slack on it, because I remember what they were saying as far as it was basically the randomness was set up with, what was it, 100 or 200 configurations. So it's random to a point in that what I imagined was that they have so many of these pre-designed rooms. And the way that's how it came out to me, was that they had designed so many of these pre-designed rooms, and that they had ran a program or however they did it to, with those rooms, have up to 200 different configurations that worked, that they supposedly tested and approved 200 or so different variances of what you could run through. So I think there might be a little bit something there as far as like thinking that every time you go in, every room's going to be a different room that you've never seen before. I think it was more of it's going to be different. It's going to be a slightly different layout of the entire map every time you go in there. And I think we'll see it more with once you get more of the phases opening. Like, do you have all three, like the ability to do 3 phases at once?
So yeah, I definitely. So what happened with me is I kind of grinded, I guess, a little bit on just the regular hard modes until level 8, and then I got in with a couple of guys that were already 15 at the time and grinded them to 20, and now they're at like 27, and then they bumped me up to 20 from like 10 to like 20 within the last like 24 hours. And Pretzel, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but we know where every enemy is when you come in. If you see the room, you know exactly where to pop the smart cover, exactly where to pop your pulse, and come in. And basically, you know, it's all muscle memory at that point. Almost, you know what it's like? You know what it's like, dude? It's like another Dark Zone, except underneath, and you don't have a bunch of people running shotguns, which is not a bad thing. You know, like I said, I've been in it.
I don't think it's bad. But that's also what I'm saying is that, yeah, you might... I understand you would get room familiarity on, like... So imagine... I don't know what the size would be even to say or whatever, but like a 10 by 10 room. Say they're like, hey, we need you guys to make 10 by 10 rooms that you can get into and out of. And then we're going to take all these rooms you guys have designed, which it may not be... it may not be 200 different rooms, but the configurations of those rooms was up to 200 different ways.
Well, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I get, yeah, you'll run in the same room and you recognize it, so you know the area that you hit, but maybe the next room isn't the exact same room that you went into the next room on the last run.
No, I mean, certainly the order is different. One of the things that I've started noticing is there are certain assets that have become really recognizable. Like, for instance, there's that one where you're looking down at like a huge circular drain. You know, you go into the room and there's like a huge round kind of hole in the floor. Like, that's one of those assets that I've started to see and really recognize. Other one is a lot of the ones when you're out on train tracks and you're going into those levels where you are pulling a lever to open the door. I don't know if those rooms are different in as much as how the cover is constructed. I think they might be, but in any case, they feel very similar. It's a series of tracks, and you have the one where you actually have trains on the tracks, and then you have the one where it's pretty wide open, and there's like Golden, you'll know the one I'm talking about, and there's you know, kind of empty tracks going down the middle, and there's a few platforms here and there, and you know, I've started to kind of see assets that I kind of recognize. Now, how you transition between those places absolutely is different. I think the thing that I've realized, though, in playing it is that part of it, unfortunately, doesn't really matter, right? Because typically those spaces are transition spaces in between rooms where you're engaging enemies. And so it's almost like the randomness of it that they, I think, did a good job in terms of, because when you actually stop and look, right, it's like, oh, this is a little different than I was at before. But the problem is you got the GPS running. And for most people, I think they're just dashing to the next place, either because they're on a timer for the mission, which a few of them have, or because they just want to grind through it. You know what I mean? And so a lot of that variety is getting lost because it's not a part of the central gameplay. It's basically the spaces that connect the central gameplay, you know, and it's kind of a shame because there's some really beautiful work done there. I mean, and nobody's ever been able to say that like the detail that the artist put into this thing. I mean, it's just exceptional when you kind of look at the spaces and, you know, those kind of things. And I think the problem is it's not a part of the gameplay. And so you have no game related reason to stop, enjoy, even kind of notice some of that stuff, you know. It's just, where do I get to my next room?
And so, when the timers come into it, and actually, whenever you get, you'll get to the thing where it says investigate. I think investigate the area or something like that, and
Yeah.
they have the 8 enemies there. We just run through it. We know the map good enough to where we know where the next room is going to be. So we don't even mess with those APC or NPCs, and then just run through. I will say this. I don't know if you were going to go into more of this in a second, but I will say that since running heroic and farming it is a little bit of a game changer. So again, the randomness on it is not great, and yes, you do keep kind of doing the same thing over and over. Which, okay, we did the Dark Zone, we've done. We're used to that. That's fine. It's called grinding. That's what it is. Every other game has it. But I will say that with the new builds, has been actually a lot of fun. The reward system from the heroics is actually not that bad. If you get a team to where you're everyone's communicating, where they're coming, call them out, there's going to be 2 shotgunners in every room, how many waves are going to come out when you're in the second phase and you're at the very end, so you start to get into that groove. And to be honest with you, the mechanics aren't there.
Are you talking about, are you still talking about the underground, or are you talking about the incursion?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I'm talking. Yeah.
Well, and so let's talk about the gameplay modes really quick. I think, when you get to the set where you've got a kind of, you've got this fixed base of missions that are running, the eliminate the targets are cool. We've certainly seen it before. They're enjoyable. You're going to get to shoot an armored guy at the end. You've got the ones where you are picking up intel, which is pretty much, same kind of thing, kill everybody, but somebody drops an intel piece. You've got the ones where, now the game mode that I actually think is probably the most interesting is the one where you're blowing up the ammo caches. Because that's the one that kind of requires you to explore the rooms. You know what I mean? And it actually puts this whole kind of random environment, it makes it meaningful, right? And it's not that hard to find them, but sometimes, when it's mixed with like that low visibility thing that happens in certain rooms, and that can be an interesting part, kind of, you're scoping around, you're trying not to engage enemies until you know where that cache is. I don't know, to me, that's been kind of my favorite type of mission. Pretzel, with your experience, do you have kind of a favorite mission type in terms of when you're running an underground operation?
I haven't really noticed it at the moment. I've kind of been just like, because of the timing I had, I realized this was coming up and I hadn't really gotten to touch it yet. So I was just I grabbed a group and we were just smashing through it as much as possible. I was trying to soak up some things. To be honest, so far I have enjoyed it. I know it's not like, if you were expecting like every time you go down there, every room to shift shape, size, and cover to be completely, a completely random setup, and the colors and the paint on the wall to be different, like I get that that's not different, but what I have been looking for is for the small things that were different. Like one time I was like, oh, I recognize this tunnel, but the piece right beside it, I guess, or the setup to exiting it or to the room next to it was completely different. Like last time it was like closed and you couldn't go that way. This time there was a right hand opening you could go through to get into the next piece, or that was the direction you went. That was one of the few things I noticed. There was a couple glitches I've noticed, but that comes with games sometimes.
Yeah, that happens. It hasn't been too glitchy for me. I had one thing the other day when I was playing where I was looking at a gate that I was supposed to get through, and the button was on the wrong side of the gate. So I knew it was the button that I needed to activate it. I checked my map, I checked everywhere, and it looked like it was just that the button was kind of on the other side of a gate I had to get through. But no, I agree with you, man. I think the design piece is there, and I've definitely noticed that it's different. I think, like I said, I guess the key is just, the gameplay doesn't highlight those differences in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? To me, I do like too. It's nice that they kind of they're putting in a little more of the kind of environmental issues. You know, you've got like the shock, you know, you got the loose wire on the ground, or you've got the flame shooting out of the pipe that you have to turn off, or, you know, in some cases I liked where you have to kind of get to and disable an alarm before the bad guys do, or they'll call out a bunch more guys. So I like those aspects. I think the one thing, and it's the thing that I've been trying to sort with this game from the beginning, is that, you know, the movement is not very complex. And so it's kind of like you see a live wire and you just kind of, you know, you roll through it, or you run over it, or you see fire and you just kind of roll through it. And, you know, so it's there. It's interesting. It's an interesting part that they're starting to incorporate. But again, is it really changing your gameplay? No. You know, it's not. I mean, I think so. And I guess this gets me to my next thing. So Golden, you have unlocked at level 20. Have you unlocked all the modifiers, or?
No, I think if I remember right, he said 20, so it goes to 40. Okay, so I think at 30, there's 2 more, and the one
at 30 you get sickness, at 25 you get special forces.
Okay, so at 25 you got it.
So he's got 2 more to go. At special forces is at 25, which is they get special ammo types. And then sickness at 30, your wild. Health drains constantly.
I like the modifiers, man. I think the modifiers have been, to me, definitely one of the things I've really enjoyed about it. It's just nice to, because they've changed the play style, right? They force you to change your play style up a little bit. They force you to think about things a little differently. I think the modifiers are a win, you know, for me. Golden, what do you think of the modifiers?
They're good.
That was a very well thought explanatory answer, my man.
I think it does help.
Well, the thing is, I mean, so you go into that stuff and you have to change up your play style. So, but right now, I mean, what are we doing right now? You know, like, okay, so you've got these 5 different things. And if you have a certain amount on, then you get 1 extra piece of gear. Well, why don't you just have on 4 of them? Run through it, and the time that you wasted on your health going down and having to deal with that, why not just don't get that one and then just keep running through it and make it more faster and more efficient if you're hunting gear. I will say this, that with 4 of us running through it, we literally, you know, at the end of it would sit down, you know, nobody would really talk. I mean, you'd say what you got, blah, 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 and, you know, but you'd keep going, and then at the end of it, you go back to the terminal and say, okay, I got this. Okay, what are you looking for? Okay, I'm looking for this. Boom, switch everything out. You're right back in it. You know, so farming gear, you know, it's a lot of fun. You know, I was saying this before. The different types of builds that you can run now through that has been actually a lot of fun. You know, and your role is your role. And this was the complaint that we had, or that I had from the very beginning, was there were no roles. Everything was DPS, DPS, DPS. There's none of that. You know, there's no like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to crank up my toughness all the way up, and I'm going to put my DPS all the way up, and I'm just going to roll through it. That's not happening. So, you know, there is a lot more tactical thinking, and that has and a lot more co-op. So that has been very, very enjoyable for me for the last couple.
No, and it's something we've been looking for a while. And certainly, you know, I think part of that, it's interesting because I think part of that is some of the challenges that we're facing. But another part of it is they've gotten a number of gear sets in there now that are all kind of equally, you know, like there is a true place, and the team is actually better for not having everyone rolling similar. Like, for instance, Reclaimer, you know, I think I've gotten 2 pieces of Reclaimer, but the Xbox guys, the PC guys that have been playing it for a while, I mean, you watch them run Reclaimer, and they'll run groups with 2 or 3 Reclaimers and attack. And it's just unbelievable. They have, you know, constant explosive bullets, or constant, you know, fire bullets. They've got constant waters on. It's, but there's reasons to kind of construct the teams different. And so I definitely agree. I like the modifiers. I think it's kind of a tried and true tactic for improving the replayability of certain things. And I like that it changes the play style a little bit. I mean, to your point, Golden, maybe what they need to do is start keying certain desirable gear to those modifiers that people are skipping all the time. Like I know people don't like to do the skill one, and that health drain one you're mentioning sounds like it would be a bear as well. And maybe that's one way that they could address it if they really want you to experience it, is just put some of the gear you really want, just up it in the loot table when you run that modification.
And the thing with Golden's thing about the modifiers too, an option that might have actually worked out well would have been like, so you can unlock the amount of ones you want to run, but you can't choose them. They're random when you load into the area.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like you could be like, I want to run 1 or 2 or 3 or all 5, but you can't. Well, all 5 obviously it would matter. They'd have to have more than that. But like up until that point, it could be a random one on the amount that you put on for your.
Yeah, that would be great. And so you might have a run that's really good, and you might have a run that's a lot tougher, all depending on how that draw was. It's an interesting idea. All right, next topic on the underground. How do you guys, just on the kind of aesthetic of it, what do you guys think about the way it looks?
I like it. I don't think there's another thing as far as randomness, imagery, the looks of stuff. I think there's only so much you can do while staying within the parameters of the idea of being a Clancy series and real world and New York and such. You know what I mean? Like, I mentioned that to somebody else in the group when we were running through that. I was like, there's only going to be, even if you go to I'm assuming to a point, if you go to the real underground in New York, there's only going to be so much different stuff as far as rooms and hallways and stuff go. Like it's probably all going to be pretty similar in structure and build.
No, and I think that's certainly a great point about the kind of underground portion of New York. I mean, there have been moments, and obviously what they tried to do with that Rikers Club, right, was like color. It's like it was almost funny to see that much kind of color in the world that we've been kind of playing in, which they've always had, we've seen plenty of flames for sure, and always had great lighting and things like that. But that kind of vibrant color was interesting to see. And, they continue to do it with like just incredible artwork and things like that on the walls. And, the graffiti art in the game is just beautiful and stuff. But I agree. I mean, there is kind of a fixed palette. But it looks good, man. There's some cool effects in it, as kind of they've done from the beginning. The lighting effects look great, and all that. And so I've been happy. There was an interesting there is that one there's a couple of those things that you can run into in a room, like the alarm or the situation where you've got the skills jammer in the room, or there's another one where visibility is really low, which has added kind of an interesting element to it. Because playing in a snowstorm in the street is one thing. Playing with almost no visibility in close quarters is a different thing. It added kind of a level of intensity to the experience for me, which I thought was pretty cool. I will say this: I have been in a couple rooms that were really, really well designed. I'm thinking of a couple. There was one where I was fighting it was one of these kind of bountied type targets. And it was in this room where there was kind of a central couple of rooms inside a larger room. And there were about 4 points of entry into where the boss was. And man, it was a ton of fun because I would like shoot him from one side, and then you could actually kind of flank him. I've been running underground a lot solo too, by the way, which we'll talk about in a minute. But, and so it was just interesting. That's one of the things I found with a lot of rooms. You do have choices in terms of how you're going to engage. There's certain rooms that you're pretty locked in. Like when you get into those rooms where it's just a big underground kind of train holding area, it's really like a forward back kind of movement. You're just advancing through the room. But in others, you really do have options about how you're going to engage.
It hasn't been bad. Again, you're running or you're running with 3 other people, and if you're running, if you're running good, you can make it pretty quick. I didn't do any of the challenging stuff, so I didn't get 240 gear. I just went straight to the heroic. And like I said earlier, you can trade all that stuff off, and you can get your gear sets, better. And then, oh, that guy, oh man, I've been looking for that. But the thing is to get to phase 2 and to complete it and go through all the waves at the very end, you have to be kind of meticulous about it. You got to go in, you got to go, pop pulse, smart cover, DPS, all that other stuff, and know where they're going. Takes you about, I don't know, there's definitely people running it faster than we are right now, but on average, we're doing about 35 to 40 minutes on a phase 2, and with 4 modifiers, and it's the loot's there. It's 268. The rolls, of course, you can go back and re-roll it, but again, if you didn't get what you were looking for, maybe the other 2 guys did. And I think there's a thing to where if you find a certain crate, you get an extra 2 or something like that. I'm not really sure. We were talking about it earlier, something about that. But, you in phase 1, you get that chest at the very end. Every time you level up, you get a cache. So, the loot's there. Yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied with
it. And I think, this is one of the things I think where, as always, if you're playing with a group or playing solo, your experience is different. I mean, for me, it's been a double-edged sword because, and I think overall, if I was talking about it, I like it. I think it's a good addition to the game. I enjoy it. One of the things that I really like is I have a legitimate solo activity now that I can do and get loot. Which to this point hasn't been, it's been tough to kind of figure out where that is, but I can legitimately hop in and, it's suitably challenging for where I am with my build. I'll hop in and run hard with 1 or 2 modifiers and, can come out with decent gear that's going to help me. And I have a place where I can go and do it. It's repeatable and I can do it solo if I need to, or I'm just hopping on in the morning for 15 minutes. And so I'm really glad that that's in the game. I've also found myself, the only problem with running solo is you can die really stupidly, which has happened to me a number of times too. Just, your approach when you're running solo is a little different, but overall I'd say nice addition to the game. Not, it's not game changing, but it provides kind of an opportunity to do some activities for the solo player, repeatable activities for groups. And, it's just like one of those things you hop in, let's go kill some stuff, man. Hop in with your buddies and let's go kill some stuff. And you work the rooms and get a bunch of loot. And, that's a good thing. Pretzel, overall experience so far with it, you think it's a good add to the game?
Yeah, I think it's a great add to the game. We needed something else to do. I think it's a good add in that, 1 is just something else to do. 2, there's customization to it that you can do yourself. You can make it as long or as short as you want. You can take your buddies in, or you can run it, even though I'm not sure, after a certain point, I'm not sure that the areas you can solo, you're going to get the gear you want, other than just, the satisfaction of running something by yourself. Because on hard, I'm not really sure. It doesn't go too high. I mean, do you get 240, 204 gear here? I think it's challenging though. I think you're getting like 182s off of hard. Yeah.
No, and I get and I see gear sets and stuff, and it's I have to think back and look at what I'm getting. I think I'm getting 268s on hard with a modifier.
From the sealed
from the caches.
You're getting it from the sealed cache is where you're getting that from. Yeah, every time you level, you get a cache, and it's going to be relative to what you are. Yeah, but as far as your drops, your 214 is going to be hard. Yeah. Your 240 is going to be challenge, and your heroic is going to be 260.
No, and that's what it's been. But it's cool because the leveling is not too bad. If you're running hard and running a modifier, you'll level every couple of passes through, and it's not that bad. It's pretty quick. And so it's not, for me, it's been nice to see. And even if it's just from the leveling, it's been nice to see 268 gear in a forum that I can solo. And I don't think this is a game that you should spend all the time soloing, but for me, just if I want to get some gear and I have 20 minutes in the morning before I go to work, it's great to just be able to pop on and do something that I can really kind of feel like I'm progressing my character. So, I appreciate that part of it. Let's switch gears real quick here into the Incursion. I don't want to spend too much time on this because honestly, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I know, Pretzel, have you been in yet?
Yeah, I just ran it just before we did this. I finished it up actually while we were getting ready.
Okay, and Golden, you've run the whole Incursion a couple of times, and the first part of the Incursion how many times? You've been doing the four horseman farm, right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. You know what? More than I'd like to admit.
So for those of you that aren't familiar with it, and by the way, this is something that Massive has actually acknowledged as a legitimate way to run this in order to farm gear. It's not a glitch. It's not an exploit. It is legitimate. So we can certainly talk about it at length here. But it's basically just to run through the Four Horsemen segment and kill those guys, get the loot, and then restart. And Golden, you said you'd been doing that a bunch, right?
Yeah. And it's again, here we are, with the same thing. And you know what? I gotta say that this is probably my favorite part of these types of games that are coming out. It's the co-op, man. It's the team, it's the builds, and it was something that I was really upset about when we first started with the Dark Zone, because again, DPS. Now, when you're looking for groups now, you're actually looking for something. The Reclaimer is beast right now with Sentry, and then you run a 2-tack build, or with Smart Cover, and you do. And I think the reason that Massive is not cracking down on this is because if trust me, man, I've gone in there several times with, and explained everything and said, hey, look, this is what's happening. This is what's going to happen. Here's your build. Let's do this. That build doesn't work for that team. That person might not be used to using that build or whatever. So, there is still a level of coordination there that actually takes some thinking. And again, I love it. I love the co-op in it. I love playing with other players and, meeting them. And then, you get to learn from those guys too. Every time you do a farm or something like that, you meet some people and you learn some stuff. So, yeah.
That's great. Pretzel, what'd you think of the Incursion?
I had a good time with it. It's a lot of fire.
That's like the understatement of the century.
Oh yeah, the end is crazy. And so I went in with I forgot who I went in the first time with. Well, I went in with a group, and we were like, oh my god, fire was everywhere. The fire truck was spouting all the flames, and you look around and there's nowhere to go. You're like, oh man. So I did it that time. The first time I was like, oh, that's really crazy. And then I went in with another team right after that, and they were like, dude, why are you running around? What are you doing? I was like, what do you mean why are we running around? Well, what? This is what we're supposed to do. Nah, man, back up. Come over here. Here's a box. Pop Smart Cover. Sit right here. The flames won't hurt you, anything like that. And then you go out and you have to hit the switches at the same time. So, there's some variety there, I guess. But I mean, it's faster than Falcon Lost, so there's that.
Yeah, I would have liked. I only ran it once, but from what I noticed, there's a little bit of a time on how long you have to wait for those buttons. I think I would have preferred that you could hit the buttons at any time. You just have to risk running during the wave of guys being out and whatnot. Unless, I don't know, that was what that there's a timer on those buttons. You kind of have to fight through that wave and wait for them to come back up on the next set.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Is that not a thing, Golden? Or yes, maybe?
Yeah, yeah. So you have to wait. It's waves. You have to wait for the wave. So you hit the first two, boom, 1, 2, 3, boom, right, and then he does all this stuff, and then you kill all the enemies, and then I think the third wave, the balcony guys come out, and you take care of those guys. So yeah, I mean, if we could just run in and go do them, it would definitely be a lot faster. I will say this, that there is progression. Okay. When we did Falcon Lost, it was, we go in and one person or two people go up and hit the thing, and then you go in and you turn off the turret and you plant the bomb, whatever. Second one, you plant the explosives, the fuses, and you go to a certain spot and you hang out there. And but again, raid-like. I mean, well, no, definitely not raid-like. Are they learning? I mean, let's look at some other games that are in this genre that are turning out to be really, polished, great games. So, are they moving in the right direction? I think so. We're all still playing it. I know that a lot of player bases kind of dropped out or whatever, but it's they have this base, they did these things, they have a business plan, they're doing it, and I think it's good. But as far as like keeping the player engaged, I don't know, man. Definitely not raid-like.
Yeah, well, and so I think that's the let's jump real quick. There was an article in Forbes this week that we had a lot of discussion internally about. And for whatever reason, there seems to be this obsession with comparing this game with Destiny. I think I understand why. There's pretty similar. I think a lot of the people that tried Division were Destiny players. But the question of that article was, which game is going to have more longevity, Destiny or Division? Now, look, the very premise of the article is a little bit off because Destiny's already been out for quite a while, right? Is at a totally different phase of its life cycle. And so I think the very premise of the article was a little bit off, but it did raise some interesting points. We had some interesting discussion. When you talk about longevity with these kind of games, it's always about, the gear, right? And one of the things that I think we have found, and it's funny because when we talk to the kind of players that we play with, our clan that we play Destiny with, we've got a variety of different types of players. Some people like the complexity in the games where they want to do builds and they want to be in their inventory and they want, and then some people just want to log on and shoot stuff. And from that standpoint, if you're not an RPG player, if you're not interested in builds, if you don't kind of view the build process as part of the fun and part of the challenge, Division's just not a long-term game for you. I mean, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a little bit of depth for those guys who want that depth to keep them there. And it's an RPG feel with a unique combat system. Which also, I think that's part of the thing. Like people talk about, grabbing and cover and not moving, but it is a cover-based shooter. So really, at its core, some of the things you do in incursions or other areas is, we play the DZ pretty free roaming and whatnot, especially considering the game is the combat system's cover-based third-person shooter combat system. And I know it doesn't really get played like that a lot.
Yeah, it's no, you're right, Brett. I think for me, and look, I enjoy the build part of it. And so, to me, I think the game will have an audience. I'm certainly excited. We'll have longevity. I'm certainly excited about the new things they're putting out. Some of the methods or some of the different kind of DLCs we still don't have a ton of detail on, but there's definitely continued potential. And, the game is fun. It's fun to play with buddies. It's still an enjoyable thing for me. I think it could definitely have some longevity. I will still maintain that the game could be greatly assisted by some form of organized PvP. And, I don't know how it fits into the lore of the game. I don't know how it, it would almost be something where it would have to be framed as some kind of a training exercise as justification for giving people the same guns. Because right now the builds are so different, and it's just to be able to bring your current power level in there. They'd have to just do it very creatively so that you had good matches and stuff. But some kind of dedicated PvP where you could hop on there just to do PvP, I still think would be a really solid addition to the game. I mean, it's one of those things. You look at Destiny, for instance, and why one of the keys to Destiny's longevity has been in these long droughts between content. All they have to do is pop on an Iron Banner, right? And, we'll hop in and play. Why? Because PvP, it's like the players generate their content, right? The fights are going to be different every time. It's just, it's one of those deals where I think a true PvP, and look, you can do PvP with a third-person shooter. We were all playing the Uncharted 4 PvP beta, and, that's third-person shooter. Now, look, they had like kind of grappling hooks and some fun things, like
that SOCOM game that used to come out on Sony a lot was a third-person shooter.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. It's not like good PvP has to be first person. I think it's just a matter of thinking about the game modes and things like that. And I do think that they have kind of set themselves up to do some different things because they've abandoned the idea that you can't have a load screen, right? Underground, you see a lot of load screens.
Yeah.
And what that does for them, I think, is opens up some of it doesn't all have to live in the same exact world anymore, And so hopefully that gives them some flexibility to kind of start to do some new and different things. Because we're okay with the load screen. I mean, it's all right. It's not the end of the world,
Yeah. Or maybe, like an area that you can go into in the city that's like, when you go in there, I don't know how they would do it, but, basically that's passing through that line and staying inside that area is like things get, your abilities or the skills of some stuff or guns get like leveled out a little bit or somewhat. And inside that area is like generally just other players. But I'm sure there'd have to be a loading screen for that too. So
no, I agree. But I think, the context of training could absolutely fit into the lore.
Or like basically you could do maybe not training, but like a first wave or second wave type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, you look at like the Falcon Lost Arena, that room, that would be a great PvP room, man. It'd be a great PvP room. You got a lot of different kinds of cover. You got different things to do, like the clear skies too. That circle working around there. You either do it objective based where you have to hold an area, or you start two teams on the opposite sides and let them advance. I mean, I think that would be fun from a PvP standpoint and something they could certainly do.
But yeah, I agree. I don't know exactly I mean, as far as keeping it inside the realm without breaking too much, or maybe just go ahead and just have a standalone side PvP set up somewhere, in that, I think you're right as far as those guys who just want something like that. It would help with the draw and help with maintaining some guys that it doesn't quite maintain right now, maybe.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, I think you're very right about that, Dan. I think the fact that the Dark Zone, the new idea of it is amazing. And I think that as they work the bugs out, I think it could be good. I think that they were talking about going into Times Square, so giving it a different look in the Dark Zone would be better. But as far as longevity, going back to the whole Destiny Division comparison, I think that the two biggest things that it's lacking is definitely one, there's no raid-like content, and two is definitely that there's no true PvP.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's two areas that they hopefully are going to address going forward. All right, guys, I want to, in honor of the Olympics, let's do a quick bonus round here. We have had the Olympics going on for a bit, and I just want to do some quick Olympics talk. And so I got a couple questions for you guys. So let's do this. Most underrated Olympic event that you've seen so far. It's funny because they have them on like every channel. Like, dude, I saw like tennis was on Bravo today. Like, there's like Olympics on like 6 different channels. But of the events you guys have seen, most underrated Olympic event. Golden, let's start with you.
I saw women's handball today.
Oh, dude.
And
It
Yeah,
looks-
dude. I was like, what is this? Yeah. What?
It
Yeah.
totally looks like a
Yeah.
game that, like, you know, in the middle of gym class, like the teacher's out and
Yeah.
like you just came up with your buddies. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, dude. You run down. It's almost like a penalty kick in soccer, except every time. Yeah, I thought it was great. I watched a good bit of that. Yeah, I thought that's yeah. I thought.
yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
awesome.
like, where, like, handball is one of those things that you only see at the Olympics. I guess it's big in other countries, right? But it's like, it's one of those deals where it's like,
Dude,
what is
yeah,
this?
I thought handball was like, yeah, I thought it was two people hitting a ball on a wall and making sure that it, crosses a line when you serve it. So, my definition of handball and their definition of handball is completely different.
No, pretty cool. And it's got goalies and that awesome rule where like you can't get inside that crease area, that big crease area. And so they're always like but you just can't touch your feet. And so they're always like flying over the line, launching the ball. That's a fun looking game.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. And that was the first, and I kind of stumbled upon it. I think like I just got off at 4:00 in the morning. I was like, what is this? And started watching it. And I thought
I
it was
have
pretty
no
funny.
idea about this handball you guys are talking about.
Oh, dude, you got to check it out. It's a cool.
Dude, you got to check it out, man.
It's basically,
pretty
I
cool.
think, cross, like, take like lacrosse and polo, like water polo without the pool. Like, that's kind of like what it is. They play it with what looks like one of those little mini soccer balls that you can get, like the tiny one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And basically the gist is you run, it's played on a court and there's a net that looks kind of like a lacrosse net to me. And I don't know how many people are on the floor at one time. What, like 5 or 6, Golden, something like that? Maybe
Looks like six.
Six.
Looks like 6.
And you run down and you like pass it. And there's this big arc that you can't step inside.
It's like a 3.
Yeah, it's kind of like a 3-point line. It's a little closer. I don't know what the distance is, but you have to be outside of that area when you're trying to score. And there's a goalie and everything, but you can cross that line, but your feet can't touch. And so basically what it is a lot of passing, and they just throw the ball side to side, and then they start moving. And basically you're looking for a crack in the defense. And then they make these moves where they just kind of, go flying into the zone and try to throw the ball into the net. It's pretty cool and pretty physical game too, actually, because they're not shy about blocking each other up and stuff like that. So that's a cool game. That's a good choice, Golden. I like that. Underrated handball. Pretzel, most underrated event that you have seen at the Olympics.
Let's see. I think the least I've ever heard about besides Golden's choice would have been probably women's ping pong.
Oh, dude,
Or
the
table
table
tennis.
tennis is
and those
ridiculous.
girls were wicked. Like, that was insane.
I know. It's like, hey,
yeah.
you want to play some ping pong? And then she like blows your face off with the with her forehand.
Yeah. Yeah. It was nuts. Like, there was no like kind of like getting a nice soft volley going and having a good time with it. It was like, we are going to put this ball inside you and make you a new hole every time I hit it.
And I love the
It's
serves
crazy.
on that, because it's like they have to present the ball, but then there's all these bizarre kind of serves where they like try and hide it.
Oh yeah, like this.
Yeah, and they like
Tomahawk
curve it all
serves.
kinds of ways, and then it's nuts.
Yeah.
Now, we actually had an American kid. I think he was like 16 years old that did really well. He's playing a guy from Iran that was supposed to blow him out, and he hung with him, which was interesting. But yeah, Olympic level table tennis it's insane.
Yeah, it's intense. When I was watching the girls one, we had a young American lady up there just crushing it. She was playing. Where is she from? I forget who she was playing against, but she ended up. I think she swept her.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool. My event, there's a couple of events that I love to watch, and they hardly ever get coverage. Judo is one of them, but the one that I got to watch like a good hour and a half of today was fencing. And I don't know what it is about the fencing, man, but I love watching fencing. It's like
It's so strategic. It's fast, but it's strategic. They're like, They're like going in for the kill, going in for the stab. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and it's a very you can see the style and momentum and like aggressiveness versus, parry and score. And it's just a really interesting kind of event. And we had an American, I think, silver in that today.
I like how their masks have their flag all over them.
Well, and the technology on them too, where like everything lights up when you get a point, which is pretty cool.
It is. It was fun to watch. I just caught it on one of the channels. It was our American guy against Britain. It was like they were pretty tight when I got on there, and then after I started watching for a bit, our guy took off, and he's like doubled almost.
It's one where he scored like 7 straight points or something, right?
Yeah. It was all in like the end of the round. He just all of a sudden just started pegging this dude, getting these. There was a neat little one they got in real close, and they both kind of lost their composure for a split second. And then the American just brought his, what did he call it?
His fencing. It's his foil. He brought his foil up.
His foil. He just kind of like brought it up into the guy's ribs, and the other dude was like his foil hand was the outside hand. He like reached around the back of his neck, trying to like come around his head and get him with some crazy.
It's like the third slash is not a legit Olympics fencing move, bro. You gotta be in position. Two other events, and we'll leave it at this. But I got to watch a good amount of men's indoor volleyball today, which is just these guys are monsters, man.
Dude, they are smacking the crap out of each other, dude. Like, this dude, listen, you got this one guy faking on the right side, and you got this one
always.
Dude,
there's like 3 guys jumping up.
The left side, just wham, dude. And the thing is you got to do, and they're actually defending.
You got to block that mess. Yeah,
man. Yeah, they're in it, dude. It's like full contact volleyball.
Well, these guys are like 6'9", 6'10", 250 pounds.
Beasts,
I mean, they're
dude.
monsters,
Beasts.
these guys.
Yeah. It was like the guys who couldn't quite make it in the NBA, so they went and played indoor volleyball.
So they went and played volleyball, exactly. And I think...
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. But speaking of NBA, we beat China by 50 points in basketball.
Yeah. Well, that's always like, I don't know. That part of it's not even... The Olympic, I guess we've had, the European nations have gotten a lot, the basketball's gotten a lot better there lately. And we've been challenged a couple times, but I don't know. We better be good at that game. That's our game. It's like, whatever. But yeah, real quick on the volleyball. I love it too, because it's like, it's almost like these spikes, man. Like I play a little bit of volleyball at a picnic or a barbecue or whatever. You know what I mean? These guys, they smack. I mean, the way they deliver a spike is just, it's like, how do you even handle it? And I love the thing too, going, like you said, where you got like 3 guys jumping to fake, in front of it. And
the faking is hilarious.
It's like, how do you, it's basically like you're playing a volleyball game with a bunch of friends and everybody's jumping, trying to spike it, but nobody can actually quite get it. You know what I mean? It's like just all these dudes hitting X.
And then you also have a ball coming at you at like 50 miles an hour, ready to take your head off. I mean, like, dude, I've played a little bit of volleyball, like you said, like recreational, and it's a fight at that net, you're going at it. These dudes, like you said, man, they're, 6'6", 220 pounds, just going like that.
Blasting.
Dude, that would,
they get up man. Too, man. They get up.
I don't know. Yeah, man.
When you see like that net cam, like it's right along the top of the net, and you see them come up and how high over the net they're getting. It's pretty crazy.
It's impressive.
I thought it was hilarious actually at first that like I was like, this is like an Olympic level team, and there's like 4 guys who just missed the ability to spike the ball. But then I realized that they were just like they were throwing these fakes out for the other guys, trying to get them all thrown off. I'm like, man, did they all really think that they were going to spike that one?
Well, and sometimes they'll do the quick, right? They'll do like the first guy will be the guy that spikes it. It's interesting, how they communicate and stuff. If you want to give input on the show, you'd like to kind of be a part of the show, you can always mail us at dzrmailbag@gmail.com, and you can get us on Twitter at Dark Zone Report. So yeah, keep playing the game, man. Keep looting. Keep kind of building those builds up. So in any case, hey guys, thank you for being on the show. Always a blast. Thanks everybody for listening. If you like the show, please share it and share your friends. Get in on the Discord if you're looking for people to play with or a great community to be a part of. And if you get a chance and feel so inclined, a review on iTunes would be really helpful. Would help more people see the show. Thanks as always. Be safe, and we will see you in the dark side.